Hello and welcome, I'm Christopher Shaw. Today I want to talk to you very quickly about the 4 stages of the terror barrier, or the fear factor. And I need you to understand that there's actually 4 stages we go through, or there's 4 stages to consider. The first stage we consider is something we call bondage. And that bondage is better known to us, probably to most of us, as our comfort zone. This is where we have alignment in thinking. This is where we have give it a value, an X value consideration in our conscious mind that is resonating comfortably and happily with the X vibration we've got in our subconscious mind. So when this is happening, we're in a very comfortable place, a very familiar place. Doesn't mean we're in a good place, but it just means what we think is what we feel is what we're experiencing and turning into actions. That's becoming our behavior. That's ultimately equaling our results. But what happens is when we get a little bit dissatisfied, when we start to think a little bit outside the square, a little bit discontented, what happens is we start to think of in a different way. Instead of the X vibration, we actually start to change that value to a Y vibration. So at a conscious level, we're now thinking about a new idea. And that new idea is bouncing around in our conscious mind, but it's in conflict with the conditioning or the value that we have in our subconscious mind. So whilst we're thinking about wanting to have that bigger house or that better car or that better job or more money, what's happening is it's in conflict with what's in our subconscious mind. And this is where we take on the power of reasoning. And reasoning is part of our higher faculties. And that reasoning is what allows us to develop that concept, develop that consideration, develop that idea in our conscious mind. And we do it to such a point where we take it from the fantasy to a theory. And when we've got the theory, we've got a basic understanding of the change we want and what it really means to us. But what we haven't got is we haven't affected the way we feel about it. In other words, our paradigms are still well in place that are supporting the old comfort zone conditioning. Make sense? So the minute we try to impose that new idea, that new concept into our subconscious mind and say, this is what we're going to do, all of a sudden that paradigm or that negative thinking just stops it in its tracks. Because what it does, it causes that idea to become rejected. And it's not rejected at a subconscious level, which is the interesting part, because when you think about it, the subconscious mind does not have the ability to accept or reject. It will just take whatever's imposed on it. But before it even gets out of your intellectual mind, what happens is you start to reason that you don't have enough knowledge, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough resources, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough skills, and etc., etc., etc. And before it even gets to your subconscious mind, you've talked yourself out of it. And this is the power of reasoning, which is phase 2, or stage 2 rather. Because if we're really determined about it, then we'll keep pushing on, and we'll go, you know what? I can actually do this, I can achieve this, I can have this, I can be this, I can have anything I want. And that concept becomes much more real because the theory is now being pressured to become part of the reality or part of your facts. But what happens next is you go into stage 3 of this concept, and you start to realize that you're taking your idea into the conscious mind as an idea, as a concept, but now you're trying to impress it very diligently into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind just doesn't like it, and it just pushes back, it repels, it rejects, it doesn't have any interest in it, because it's busy running its own paradigm or program, which is allowing it to behave in a particular way, which is in total contrast or conflict to what you're trying to tell it. So your subconscious mind is running on autopilot, but in the meantime, you're trying to impress a new thought, a new consideration from the conscious mind into the subconscious mind, and all hell's breaking loose because it's going, this doesn't work, we don't do this. The paradigm's actually arguing with the new idea, saying, we don't want to change, we're happy where we are, we like the comfort zone, we're familiar with it, pain's familiar, life's predictable, and everything is easy or easier. And before you know it, that conflict continues and continues and continues, and wham, straight away, bam, you're back into that comfort zone. You're right back to where you started. You're right back to the very beginning again, because you've gone from being a simple person with a simple thought, having very much a life in a comfort zone, to reasoning, what would life be if I changed that, if I did something different, to taking that concept to the next level and going, well, I really want to change it now. I'm really going to make these changes. I'm really going to get these lessons. I'm going to improve my skills. I'm going to upgrade my opportunity because now I'm ready to make the change. And all of a sudden, this paradigm that's locked in, which is reminiscent of your comfort zone, says, no way, dude, this is not happening. This is not going to happen. And it pushes back and it pushes back until it wins. It actually wins and drives you back into your personal comfort zone. Make sense? Because this is why we go round and round and round, because we sit there in a comfort zone, we get fed up with the situation we've got, we want to make a change. We make that change by thinking about a whole new idea, a whole new way to do things. Then we go beyond that and we go, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. This is the idea, this is what I have to do now. You put the plan in place, you start taking the action, you start doing the activities, and all of a sudden the subconscious mind and the paradigm goes, you're kidding me. This is not happening. This is not going to happen. And it doesn't happen. You push back, you push back, you push back, and all of a sudden it just implodes and you end up right back at the start again. And this is right at that stage where you're about to go through that terror barrier. That terror barrier is here. All those stages led up to this. That's the wall, that's the fear factor, that's the terror barrier. Because on the other side here is your opportunity. It's your freedom. So what do we have to do? How do we change that? We actually take our situation back to the beginning. We go, okay, this is our comfort zone. We're aware of it. We acknowledge it. We have an awareness of it, and we go, I'm not happy with it. That's the first decision that you'll make, that you're not happy with it. You'll step forward into a place of reasoning. You go, you know what? I'm not happy with that. What I want is this. You'll start to consider the new idea. Start to consider the new proposal, the new concept, the new opportunity that presents itself as a change for you. And then you go to the next stage, which is that place where we get that conflict, where the drama starts just before the wall. Remember, just before the wall. And what we do is we start to be a bit more disciplined about it. We start to impose those thoughts more diligently into our subconscious mind over and over and over again. We start to do auto-suggestion. We start to visualize. We start to write out our goals. We start to talk about affirmations. We start to drive all these little mechanisms into play that cause us to think more about the thing we want. And what happens is you do that long enough and often enough, and you make that shift, and all of a sudden something miraculous happens. That X-type conditioning that you have, or that comfort zone conditioning, or that paradigm in the subconscious mind, gives way. It actually gives way. It gives way to the new idea, and the new idea becomes so overwhelming that it becomes a trusted thought. And with that trusted thought, you begin to act in a way as if you believed you've already achieved it, because you've already reprogramming the mind. That's what we're doing here. We're reprogramming the mind. And when we reprogram the mind, we open ourselves up to possibility. And when we keep doing it often enough, wham, we'll go through that terror barrier and we'll land on the other side. It might be an accident, but through the process of disciplined approach and diligence and willpower, determination, and a positive attitude, you'll break through that wall, you'll break through that barrier, you'll break down the fear factor, and you'll become what we know as free.